It just depends on what it is. 'Cause candy is not my thing at all. Oreo is not my
Twix.
thing at all. But
Twix
like,
bars.
you give me
I
like
like
a
Twixes.
pie bar, like just a bar of pie.
Okay. Is that a thing?
I wish it was. I don't know.
That's what you guys should have had at your wedding.
Like an Amish, like I'm picturing Amish buffet of pies.
Right, like the
Oh, I
dessert
could go
table at a
crazy.
picnic, and it's just all pies.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds amazing. Pies and cobblers.
I
yeah.
like pies a lot, but it has to be really good. Really good.
I like all pies.
I'll try a bite of things.
Yeah.
So like
Oh,
just-
that. I'm a 7. That's my life. Like, give me like a little square of every single.
want to try
thing you
everything.
want.
that's fine. And then the one I like, I want like at least
The whole pie.
yeah until
I will
I
fight
get
you for the rest of it.
painfully full,
Uh-huh.
and then I'm good for a year or 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
But
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Yeah.
That's usually where I'm at. Okay, so we did it. I remembered to hit
You ready?
record. Okay.
All right, we're starting.
So we're starting now.
Episode 14. I think last week's episode went really well, and I think that like so far it's performing well. It's right on track with all the rest of our stuff. So we ended up getting like over the course of a week, we ended up with about 30 to 40 downloads.
That's good.
So we're staying steady. They're not all on the day of the drop, so I know that they're not all like automatic.
Yeah.
Like someone has
They're
subscribed.
seeking us out.
Right, 100%.
Side note on treats. You go to Costco. Have you had the? You probably did not buy them, but do you guys like macadamia nuts?
I mean, yeah, but
They're freaking awesome. Okay.
No.
my
Really?
I like my favorites. Probably cashews.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, cashews
So
all day
bland
long.
of you. Okay, I like
I mean,
macadamia nuts.
sea salt roasted cashews.
Okay, well, let me
Yes.
just get to the point. Costco has a huge bag of honey roasted macadamia nuts. And it's been my, when I'm having a sweet craving, I just like pop some of those on. It's like my thing that is just getting me, through sweets.
Someone made fun of me the other day. I love eating peanuts. Like
Yeah, I know. That's so weird.
out of the shell. Well,
So much work.
so here's
So much work, right.
Here's the thing: is do you like chips?
Not real. I mean, like
Okay.
I like chips, sure,
The
but
an-
that's
the
not
an-
like my thing.
The answer is yes. Most
Okay.
people like chips. Okay.
Yes, Aaron,
so-
you do like chips.
So my response is peanuts or chips.
it's fair.
I love peanuts and I can eat a lot of them. I don't feel bad about it. It's way better than chips. I win.
Have you ever tried?
You have to be sitting down or like not sitting. You need 2 hands. You can't just be like munching on peanuts while you're making dinner,
I don't do that. It's outside when I'm like doing
Right,
yard
yeah.
work or like
See, I do
smoking a
sunflower
cigar.
seeds when I do that. When I'm doing like yard work, I'll like mow and throw some sunflower seeds in. Like that'll work.
I just drink a beer. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, hey, that works too. No, I
I'm
think
just picturing the average guy in my neighborhood having a cup holder of a beer while he's
that's
mowing the yard.
the most important thing when buying a lawnmower. As Evan probably knows, since he's bought more lawnmowers than probably anyone combined. I
The
feel
new one
like.
has a really good cup holder.
It's
Does
a really,
it?
You
really
could- I mean,
very
you could put
secure.
the biggest Yeti you could find. Almost your giant jug of water. You could probably put that in there.
64 ouncer.
That's awesome.
It's kind of funny.
We be mowing in zigzags.
The pattern in Aaron George just
Yeah.
goes. meow.
So
All right, so what are we talking about today, guys?
talking about stuff.
Woo!
Yeah.
Stuff and things. Stuff.
Before we get into the meat of the episode, I want to talk about processed foods
Okay.
Ooh.
because I feel like people don't know what they are.
Now, are we going to make a distinction between processed foods and ultra processed foods?
I think there is a difference. Yeah. So what do you guys think of when you think of processed foods?
Well, because
When someone says like, number one thing you should do is cut out processed foods.
when I hear that, I'm thinking most people are with the intention of like ultra processed foods. When they say that, like I don't, because by
Like a
definition,
Twinkie.
right? A lot of things, even things that are healthy, are going to be processed in some way, shape, or form.
Yes, slightly.
And so, like,
That's
if you're
the hard part.
right, if you're going to go, I'm generally thinking when people say cut out processed foods, they're talking about the ultra processed, where it's in a box in
Yeah.
it's kind of the middle of the grocery store
Because
kind
like
of thing.
technically butter, yogurt, those things are processed.
Right. Technically, milk is processed.
Yeah.
And so there's some form of processing that goes on with most things. If you did,
butchering is a process. It's
right.
just not
Exactly. Packaging, anything like that.
Oh gosh, now we're getting real
Hey,
nitty-gritty.
Hey,
My honey roasted macadamia nuts.
Potato
chips are potatoes.
Right.
Yeah, but
Ultra processed.
that's a good example because the difference is like how easy is it to sit down and eat a whole bag of potato chips?
Right.
How easy is it to sit down and eat 6 potatoes?
And watch The Martian.
6 potatoes?
And
No.
Look
You
at
know
how
what I mean?
healthy
Like
he
that's-
was.
Lots of ketchup.
Gosh, that's some serious camera work. He looked real terrible.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
sure
hard
he
to make.
lost.
It's
I'm
hard
sure
to
he
make that
lost a
man
little
look
weight
bad.
for that, but some say he looks like Kyle.
Some do, huh?
He's gotten that a lot, actually.
Definitely Chris Pine, right?
He's gotten that too. No,
Yeah.
Matt Damon, Chris Pine. He gets that mixture a lot. And he used to get.
Hopefully
remember,
not from the
Do
Team
you remember Chris
America.
Humphries?
Who's that?
Chris Humphries. He was married to Kim Kardashian for a hot minute.
Yeah, I don't know how I don't know that.
Yeah, there's no way.
He
I would
played
know.
basketball. He was an NBA player. Don't act so freaking cool.
There's no way I would.
I'm
know
cool
that.
because I
Anywho.
don't know who the Kardashians.
Back to process.
Thank you.
Back to process.
Back
no,
to the stuff
this.
Evan can understand. Back to the stuff Evan can understand.
I'm gonna slap you.
Do it.
Anywho,
PRT fight night.
back to processed foods. What were you saying? You were
No,
saying something and I interrupted.
No, it's the same idea. It's basically just, if most of the time when I'm hearing people say cut out processed foods, I assume they're generally referring to ultra processed, ultra packaged things that are, super bleached and having everything stripped out of it, and then they're adding back in, fortified with whatever, and
Yeah.
they're the stuff that has a bunch of added sugar, and that's just been, it's been basically made for, for easy storage on a shelf, and for some mass consumption.
So I was just having a conversation with a client right before we got here, and I feel like too often people are so overwhelmed by that because there's so, like we just started naming some like itty bitty details of processing that they're just like, well, screw it, I'll just eat the way I have been eating when it's not ideal at all.
Right.
So she was talking about how she's reading a book, Mark Hyman's book, The Pegan Diet. You guys heard of that? Basically, it's like vegan paleo. It's just like
Gotcha.
lots of vegetables and paleo other than that. So it's
And
just
just a really low amount of meat.
no, he's just
So
talking
why is it
about
called
like,
paleo?
I think because it's like a lot of vegetables, like a wide variety of vegetables, just trying to add into your diet.
Okay.
'Cause,
Right.
you can sneak by with paleo and not really.
So Paleolithic vegans back in the day probably would have got stoned.
I have not read the book. I have just heard him talk about it on a podcast.
Oh, you don't want to go hunting? I got a job for you.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry.
Anywho.
I'm ruining it.
I forget what I was going to say. But anyway, she was talking about how she just has started this book and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm killing myself with food. And she was like, but it's so overwhelming. Like she's telling me some of the recipes in there. She's like, I can't find all those ingredients to make that stuff. It's just like, I don't even want to do it. Just be like, well, I'm killing myself with food. It kind of made me sad because I'm like, why do people make it so complicated when it's not,
Right.
And I know that book wasn't written for everybody. He maybe is written for people who just want to like fine tune things that are already doing
Right.
a lot of the right things. But for some people, it is really, really overwhelming. And
Yeah.
whole foods are not that hard to come by. They're not that hard at all,
I think that like
When I hear people say Whole Foods, I almost want to ask them, what's Whole Foods to you?
The
And
Whole
then-
Foods grocery store.
Well, and
Right.
and then we're having the conversation that we are now. And
Carrots,
I said butchering is
bananas.
even like
right.
process and supplements
Yeah.
are processed. Like, supplements are fine. No, they're not. If you live off that stuff, you can do a lot better
Oh, I
because it's
know.
highly processed. It's
Yeah.
it's not going to be good as the source. And you said that I don't know how many, almost on every podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll
Your
be
body
a
will
drum I'll
not.
beat until the day I die,
Yeah.
probably.
Your body
Um,
cannot. If you get it from natural foods, your body knows how to handle it. If you get
Also,
it from
here's
supplements,
another
it has to be
thing,
a
and this is
combination.
the negative about good supplements. they can be digested very quickly.
Mhm.
Any food that you eat that can be digested very quickly, you can eat a lot of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You should take that message to the bank.
Right.
That's why if you don't eat a lot of protein and you start eating animal source protein, you're like, oh, my stomach hurts, I'm full. I'm like, yeah, because you're full from real food for the first time ever. It feels weird because everything else goes through you.
Yeah.
And, I think we know how that plays out.
Generally.
Yeah, so
What do you mean? How's it play out? Just overeating?
if your bathroom time is not pleasant, not saying that it should be, but if it's not pleasant, I'm telling you, there's a problem. And you just don't know it yet. And it's going to smack you in the face one day whenever you go to the doctor and say, you have this. And it's like, oh, my God, really? Yeah. Well, what's your diet been like for the last 5, 10, 20, 30 years?
Right.
Twinkies and fast food and sodas.
Yeah. So back on the paleo thing.
Getting fired up
back
lately.
on the
Last
book.
2 weeks.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this fired up Evan. This is amazing.
You asked.
So a lot of
The
times
head bob that goes around.
yeah. For those of you guys that aren't watching, Evan gets this head bob going and he's like all fired up and he's head banging at the mic. I'm waiting for him to headbutt it
Well,
one
I'm
time.
also trying to be fairly direct and to the point.
That's
so
good. I mean,
we
you
can
need to.
move on to the fun stuff.
Well, so back to that book really quick. One of the things that I find it's annoying, and there's a lot of guys that do a good job of it, and that are on Instagram and YouTube and things like that. They're guys that are doctors, guys that are very experienced and know what they're talking about, registered dietitians and the such. But a lot of times, it seems like there's this need to overcomplicate food and the way we should eat just to make someone feel better or sound important or to sell this book because like, oh, I came up with this revolutionary way to da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's super complicated and it's way over a bunch of people's heads and people feel like that. People feel hopeless because it's like, well, crap, I don't understand what he's saying. I don't think I can apply this in my life. And well, like you said, well, F it, I'm just screwed and I'm going to have to eat this way for
the worst thing
and
possible.
it sucks because it's
trying,
not that
instead of trying.
I agree. And
It's
that's
the
the thing
worst.
is that we try, and that's, again, one of the things that we try to do here with this podcast, we try to do with the people we work with, is to give like the most real answers that we can that are accurate, but that you can actually understand. We try to break things down in a way, okay, because the thing is we understand you're not a scientist, you're not a dietitian, you're not a nutritionist, you're not a coach. You don't live and breathe this stuff. So we want you to understand it so that you can actually, you can bring it in, you can take action on it and actually do something with it to better your life, better yourself, better your health, and not just sit there and spin your wheels like you've been doing for the past 20 years or whatever.
It's not the most annoying, but people in an industry, if you're good at what you do, you should be able to do that.
Right.
Let's make it simpler, and then just trust me. And if you don't, how long did it take me to get here? Okay, now I want you to put that effort in. That's hopeless. That's unrealistic.
Right.
It is. It's unrealistic. There's no way people can put in the time, and I can't do that either with any other industry. It's impossible.
Right.
So you just need to try. You need to trust people.
There's a lot of people in this space that are very, very smart. That are a lot of people in the fitness industry and health and nutrition that are very, very smart, that know a lot of information, but cannot convey it in any way, shape, or form that's actually usable.
Agreed.
And it's crazy. Like there are guys that I coached with at Indiana State that those dudes knew more about. They've forgotten more about exercise science than I'll ever know, biomechanics, the like, and they couldn't convey any of that information to their athletes, and they didn't get good results. And it's like, well, yeah, because some of this, it's the person-to-person interaction, being able to break down something complicated, so that the person cares or gets the information they need to, finds out what they can care about, and can actually take steps. So on the process side of things, in order to simplify that, just from our own, our back and forth on it, if it comes in a box, or it's somewhere, and usually and generally speaking, like if you're, shop the perimeter, that's usually a pretty safe bet. Shop the perimeter of a grocery store. That's usually where the fresh vegetables and your meats are going to be for the most part. It's a good place to start. If you can get most of your stuff from out there, if you have the money, try to buy organic. Try to get, as good a quality meat as you can. Like,
Don't be paralyzed by that, though. Just start where you can.
right, and that's the thing is like it's all about, okay, what can I afford, and what do I know how to make? Because the thing is like, and just play around with it, experiment. Like that's we've talked about this in terms of like trying meal plans, just to try a meal delivery system program. That way it's something you can try and experiment with something new.
Yeah. If you care, this message is for you. If you don't care, keep doing what you're doing. But if you do care, there's always a way to make things simpler with just a little bit of planning. And if you don't know the answer, ask someone. They'll give you 10 options that you never thought were possible.
Right.
Because they've already done it or read it or trained someone.
And to just, this is a message to anybody that's ever felt like this, because I know I have before. This is a free, open invitation to ask any of us, anytime, hopefully, that we have a time to talk. Because
please make sure it's time that I have time to talk.
Right. Or talk, hey, can we set aside some time to get together and talk, or send us an email or a DM or something, because we will give you any information we can, and we want you guys to get this information. And if you have questions very, very specific questions that you think would be good to be answered here, we'll try to answer them in this format, because I'm sure you're not the only person having that question. And believe us, you are not wasting our time.
No, we welcome questions to this. Please, if you have a question that you would like for us to address.
It makes me crazy when
questions keep me up at night.
Right.
Until I find the answer.
Yeah, 100%.
Seriously.
Like, that's the thing. It's crazy either in the law enforcement side of things or here, people are like, oh, hey, sorry to bother you. You're not bothering me. Like, you're asking me questions about things that I care about and that I want to help you with. Like, I'm more than happy to answer any question. If like you said, if I don't know it, not knowing it's going to keep me up at night until I figure out what the answer is.
All right. Next topic. How do you want to word this? What do you define as successful health?
Yeah, successful health.
Okay.
I was reading an article and it sparked an idea, and I thought, what do I think successful health is? What is required? What would be the definition? And I didn't think about it too much, because honestly, it's not that big of a deal, and it may or may not mean much.
Did you have like a list of things, like a top few things that come to mind?
4 things.
Okay.
Some form of preparation, some form of work ethic, some form of consistency, and some form of progression. And then those definitions are, there's subjective ones, but it's just from my opinion based on my experience and stuff like that. But I kept it really simple. And if you're missing one of these, then the other ones aren't going to be as good. It's just not going to work. Okay.
Do you want to talk about each of them?
I can. So as far as preparation goes, you need to put aside time to train. I don't care what it is. And you need to put time aside to plan for your nutrition. I don't care what it is. Because if you do those things, you're going to be doing better than you're doing right now. And honestly, that is as simple as it gets.
And you need to set aside time on the training thing. You need to set aside time to actually plan your training in some way, shape, or form. So you're not just, oh, well, I know I'm going to go to the gym, but I'm just going to show up and then I'm going to do whatever I want to do, because you're going to end up doing the same 4 things.
But if you're coming to PRT, you don't have to do that.
Right. That's true. I agree. So yeah, on both sides, if you have, if you come to PRT, we're going to have a program built for you. If you're coming during open gym time, make a plan. Talk to one of us and say, hey, what can I do during open gym time?
It really is overwhelming for someone to come in, and if they're not used to going to a commercial gym and training all the time and just doing whatever they want, it is overwhelming for them. And just ask questions, and I will put the stuff together, and I love doing it, and it's fun, and it's very simple for me. It is very simple, and I love it. But for people that have never really experimented with those things, it is definitely overwhelming.
Well, just generally curiosity, how many workouts do you think you've built in your lifetime? What, thousands, hundreds of thousands? Like,
I'm not you.
This the idea of like, because it seems complicated when people think about like, oh, I'm building a program, and it's like, man, we've literally built like thousands at this point.
I would say thousands, just because how much they've changed and changed and changed, and every variation and every single one for me is different. Not every single one-on-one person, this is just me being honest, needs a precision-based program, because either at the beginning, you're not You either are special or you're not. You just need general training. You don't need a crazy, I'm not a physical therapist, so I'm not going to assess you. I'm not going to assess your range of motion. If you're pretty good to go and you don't have any big injuries or anything like that, we're going to work out. And every single workout is the assessment, and I'll make it better and better and better really, really quick. Way better than you could ever figure it out for yourself, or else you'd be doing what I'm doing. Okay? Well, it is what it is. You're paying someone for a service. If they suck, stop paying them. If you trust them, keep going.
It's fair.
But I could keep going, but
no, I mean, I agree on that front. Like if you don't have a plan, what is that? Was it Douglas MacArthur or Vincent?
Plan to fail.
Yeah, if you don't have a plan, if you're not, failure to plan is planning to fail or whatever like that. And that's exactly what happens, because I see it in myself. If I don't have a program, if I don't have a plan that I'm working off of, and that I haven't already built for myself, I wander into the gym and I'm going to do what I want to do.
There is also a
same thing with
difference
food
in like definitions of working out and training. If I'm just working out, it kind of bothers me. And the difference with the definitions, workout is you just go to the gym and you perform a workout.
You get tired.
Training is a planned session, series of sessions for a specific goal, or just I have 10 goals and I want to kind of get better and lean towards that. But there's a difference between working out and training. And for me, I can plan and I choose to train. I want to have a goal. I don't want to just work out. Sometimes it's just a workout.
Yeah. I feel like Saturdays for me are workouts, because it's like...
Well, you on the Peloton is a perfect example. You know, like you think and you plan and you prepare and you train, but then sometimes you just want to do something physical and you don't want to think about it too much. That's a workout. That's fine. That's normal.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
There's nothing wrong with that. That most people just need workouts. They don't need training. They don't need laser beam focused programs. They don't, unless they're special. And then those people, you need some serious attention, because, if you're young and you're in pain and why? Have you been to a chiropractor? Have you been to a therapist and you're still in pain? Come on.
Yeah.
You've got a long road of weird compensations, and then you're going to end up like Quasimodo one day, and you didn't need to be.
Right.
Several people come to mind.
So you need to have some form of preparation. Gotcha. Next is some form of work ethic. Some form of work ethic. Not Jocko.
I feel like that's a dirty word these days.
Well, I try to be realistic. I think it's funny whenever people, like you can take it a little bit too far sometimes.
Definitely.
It's okay. You don't need that level of work ethic in order to make a change. You need just a little bit of hope, just a little bit of effort, and then you can make a change. And then once that becomes, consistent, then you can progress, and those are the next big points. But just a little bit of work ethic in an area in life that you don't really have that many skills, or a lack of, there are a lot of aspects of life I don't have that great of a work ethic at all. But I feel that...
Do you mean discipline, by that?
I could say that discipline is a made up or subjective term based on what I think discipline could be.
But you're basically what you're saying is don't rely on motivation.
Yes, more motivation to me by definition would be very short term. It's like I watch a video of Rocky and it's like, all right, I got a workout in, and then the next day I'm eating Twinkies again and I need Rocky.
Yeah.
Come on.
You need a work ethic to keep with it.
Yes, it's realistic. You know, if you show up to work late every single day, come earlier, wake up earlier. You got to plan for that, It's
kind of, in my opinion, it's kind of the difference between being a kid and being a grown up. When you're a kid, you can get excited and you can get fired up and go do something. And then if you don't want to do it, you're like, oh, I'm a kid, I don't want to do it, and I'll just do whatever.
That's what they say to themselves.
I'm sure they don't, but it's been a while. But when you're an adult, you realize that every single day you got to get up and go to work. That's what you got to do. This is what's going on. I have a job to do. I have responsibilities.
Adulting.
Right. And the thing is that when it comes to your health, you have to do the same thing, because you have to take ownership for the fact that I am responsible for my own body. I'm responsible for my own health. And if I don't do it, nobody else is going to do it for me.
Right.
And so like if I'm looking for this magical motivation that's just going to come out of, nowhere.
Doesn't happen. I wish
Doesn't
it
happen
happened.
that way.
It doesn't.
No, like it's just, you have to decide, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to take care of myself.
Well,
because, and the thing is that the more you do that, obviously the easier it gets because it becomes a habit. It becomes ingrained into what you're doing. It becomes a part of your day and a part of your life.
there was a girl that came in the gym a few months ago, and she has never worked out in a gym ever. And my plan was too simple, and she didn't get it. I'm like, okay, so let's work on something that you need to do, but you're not doing. Let's work out once a month. I didn't say once a week. I didn't say 5 days a week.
I know who you're talking about.
Okay, once a month. And then once you're consistent, once you show me you're consistent, once you show yourself you can do this, maybe let's try once every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it was so simple that she wouldn't even start it.
Really?
Yeah, and it's okay. Like, I hope you figure it out one day.
Because she's heard too much, background noise of like, you have to work out for an hour 3 days a week, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm not trying to be
not
like.
that.
I think I know this person pretty. I don't think that's the issue with this particular individual. I think this particular individual is just not. I don't. Everybody has certain things. Everybody has, a moment of I would call it like waking up to like what you need to do, and
It hasn't
like
happened yet.
right. Like for me, it was in college. Like I was recovering from surgeries. I was overweight, and I literally had to tell myself, train or die. Like go to the gym and work out, or you're going to die. Like now that's an extreme. I get it. I know it's an extreme, but that's what I needed in my mind.
Because you weighed 400 pounds.
I did not, thankfully, but that's the thing is that's how that process starts.
Yeah.
Like I started feeling sorry for myself. I started just like, getting in that emotional spiral, and it's like, no, I'm not going to exist like this anymore. And that was just the decision. But that took that extreme of a thought process for me to get me to that place. Some people haven't reached that point yet in their lives. And there are times where like, people have a traumatic event and then they realize, oh, like I want to be around for my family. And that becomes their motivator. And unfortunately, sometimes it takes things like that.
You need to,
to find their why or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just being honest with people. I'm not like a fitness heartbreaker. When people come in, I pretty much know where you're at. I don't need to train you for a few months to figure that out. I know on day one, how prepared you are to train and how hard. And we don't need to train that hard because you haven't been doing anything. It's not that complicated for me at all.
Right.
And
it's the idea of like, if you come in on your first day and I bury you in the ground, you're not going to want to come back.
It's a negative experience, a negative learned experience. I don't like that. That hurts. I didn't hurt you. You didn't get injured. You're just in such bad shape that a little bit too much work made you so sore, you're not comfortable with it. That's how it works. And it should be a light load, a light amount of exercise, very little, almost so little that you didn't think you worked out. Like, congratulations, come back again. Right. And then you won. But do people want to get crushed?
Some people do.
Yeah,
Some people want to feel sore.
I promise, I can crush you if I want to. I can destroy your life in the gym. What do I get out of that?
Ego
Nothing.
Boost. An ego boost. That's how some of these dude. It is crazy to me how some of these coaches and trainers work out and push their people. Like there were guys at ISU that would be like, oh, I bet I can get my client to quit first. And you're just like, and they would literally just try to break their clients and just try to beat them into the ground by building and they were like, they got this ego
when
boost.
they get paid by those clients, they won't do that.
Well, they get like this, they got this ego boost from this idea of like, I created such a hard workout for this person that they couldn't do it. And there was like this ego. I was like, oh, congratulations. Anyone can just prescribe German volume training to someone who's never worked out before, and they're going to not make it through the workout.
Yeah.
Duh. Like that doesn't take any skill, doesn't take anything like, ooh, you're big and bad. But like to actually, in my opinion, be a effective coach and be a coach that actually cares about the welfare of their client, to start out someone on a simple program that is just getting them moving again. Because you wouldn't do that with anything else.
Mm-hmm.
You don't start your car and immediately redline it. Like you let your car warm up. You're not supposed to.
Can I tell you guys a funny story?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Side story about you talking about being a kid, being an adult. So the other day, Ben.
The jury's still out. I don't know if I'm an adult yet.
Ben had to go in the other room and do box jumps. You know how my kids like hang out in there. So Scarlett was sitting on the high box, and he said, "Hey Scarlett, can you move to the low box so I can jump on the high box?" And she said, "Why don't you just jump on the low box?" And he said, "Well, it's kind of easy." And she said, "So you like doing hard things?"
She was confused.
Yeah.
Like,
why would you do something that's hard?
That's
Which
amazing.
is hilarious. I'm like, you have never been more of your dad's
I'm
child.
also not. I'm not trying to tell people you can't train hard. You can, but honestly, you have to earn it. You have to earn it.
Right.
And
Well, you got to build up to it.
Yeah,
you got to
you
build
have
that.
to.
You got to build that, like that gas tank. You got to build that base in order to
Yeah.
be able to.
Yeah, if not, just your first
It's
day,
not
your first day,
sustainable
run
if
a
not.
marathon.
Yeah.
See how that works out for
Well,
you.
some people want to feel like that. That's the problem. Like some people hate being sore, and some people literally they don't feel like they did anything hard or anything at the gym if they don't feel sore. I mean, we all know those people. Did you get enough sleep last night? That
Your eye is
twitching.
This one?
Yes.
Oh,
Heaven's
I don't
left
want to
eye is
make you
twitching.
self-conscious, but I keep seeing it. Do you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been watching
I
it.
can't feel it.
It drives me nuts.
For
My
those
eyes
of us
twitch.
that are
I'm
watching,
always like,
Levin's left eye is twitching.
they
That's
can't
funny.
see that eye.
No,
Is
they
that-
can't see it.
Is that
It's
associated
not
with
familiar.
sleep?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Either that, or you're about to like have a psychotic break. And
Well,
you're
I
about to
do
hurt
have-
one of
Oh
us.
gosh.
I do have two big
Okay.
points to bring up
Oh
Do it.
boy.
beyond work ethic. But
The next one.
The point is, if I told someone to work out once a month in the gym, the other days, like you need to be active, go on walks, stuff like that, form healthy habits because you have no active healthy habits, you need to do something. That is going to develop some form of work ethic because you have to do it. I just told you to do it, and if you don't do it, I'm going to ask you about it. And it's like, well, you know that you could have done better.
I wonder how many like people think about like the idea of like, oh, this doesn't. It's not a complicated process, because getting healthy, while it seems like it should be complicated, is relatively simple. Not easy, but simple. Like in the steps you need to take, it's relatively simplified.
Yeah.
There are certain things you need to do in order to do these things. And I'm wondering if they're like if the world we live in has created this environment where people think that like that well, my workout program should be more complicated than once a month with a little bit of physical activity, even though it's exactly what I need. But like, because this isn't some crazy complicated program, I don't know if it'll
It's
work
too
for me.
complicated. You're not going to do it. You're not going to want to do it. You're not going to think it's fun.
Right.
It just.
No, I agree. It's just
yeah, I know
it's
what you
just
mean.
crazy to see like how people
If you-
interact with
if
some
you-
of this stuff.
If you're the type of individual that can handle that stress, like in mental preparation all the time, you're going to thrive. But
Right.
if you're not, you're going to go backwards.
You're just gonna get overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's going to be too. Oh my gosh, I did A, B, and C, but I couldn't finish D. Who cares?
Right.
Who cares? You
Move
did
on to
A,
the
you
next
did
week.
A, B, and C. I mean, it's 75%.
That's more than you. That's more than you did last week.
Yeah,
It's a D plus. Just kidding.
it's passing.
Wow.
Hey, it's passing.
Aaron's usually the nice one. D plus.
All
All right. What are your other points?
So the next big point is really simple. It's consistency. Whatever you do, you need to be consistent. If it's too little or too much, you may not be consistent. It has to be the Goldilocks right in the middle. And then if life gets hard, then you may do a little less and you come back the middle. And if the stress is, managed, you can train a little bit harder and then you can always come back to the middle. But you have to have some form of consistency.
So you mean if I do a program for like 3 or 4 weeks and I'm not seeing the massive gains I want, I should not just give up and change
I would
programs?
try to be as nice as possible, and I would say you have very, very unrealistic expectations based on, I don't know what magazine, book, or fitness influencer that you've seen, but there's no one that I know that's successful in 3 or 4 weeks in anything.
Hey, Matt Damon got abs, and then went from we bought a zoo, to Jason Bourne in like a month. I mean,
Yeah, right. Okay.
I'm sorry.
I
I can't
know.
help it. My sarcasm side comes
Yeah.
out too strong. But anyway,
3 to 4 week segments or waves or programs, that's fine. That's realistic.
Right.
It's baby steps.
it's crazy to me. Like, people don't understand the idea that losing 1 to 2 pounds of fat a week is awesome.
Yeah. And
is crazy. Number one, like
it's not realistic long term.
No,
unless you're 800 pounds.
But like the people are like, oh, I've only lost this much weight, or like, oh, I've only gained this much poundage on my squat or whatever, and it's like, it's you got to take people sometimes and look. Let's put this in perspective. That's a really good number, or that's a really these are positive steps.
Yeah.
It's not a dramatic. I just made that word up.
Drastic, dramatic.
Hey, I like that word.
Dramatic. It's not a dramatic change, but the thing is that like very few sustainable changes are going to be.
Why do they
dramatic.
think that is not a good change? Though it's because they are reading magazine covers,
because
like
we
lose
watch
this
too much
much
stuff on
weight.
Facebook.
I think, and it's
They're
okay.
hearing their friends.
I think that it's a little bit of ignorance. They don't know what's achievable and what's possible and how much time.
Realistic.
Yeah,
realistic.
How much time it takes to do that.
If people are losing a bunch of weight in a short amount of time, they probably are losing muscle as well, or losing, or they have a lot more weight to lose. I mean, there's two different sides of.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be diminishing returns on anything. Where as fat loss, the more fat you lose and the less fat you then have to lose, the harder it's going to be to lose fat. Mm-hmm. The stronger you get and the closer you get to your genetic ceiling, the harder it's going to be to gain strength. I mean, that's how
genetic ceiling.
Works.
I've never heard that before.
Really?
There's an alleged genetic ceiling that everyone has.
It's pretty cool.
Genetic floor as well.
I mean, there are people that have found found their genetic basement.
I think people are like aim for that.
There's people that I would like just get to your genetic floor.
That's funny.
I have a funny story about the lack of consistency. Whenever I try to make things too hard, back when I was in college, I would go to a gym that was on school campus, and then downtown Indy that was just a few blocks away, and they were both awesome gyms, and I loved working out, and I loved training. Anyway, I would bike to school just to get extra exercise, and then I would bike to the gym.
Dedicated.
So if there was a day that I didn't go to school, I'd force myself to bike to the gym, which biking there took time, working out took time, biking back took time. I could not sustain that very long before I was just like, I don't really feel like, wasting 3 hours. You know what I mean? It's unrealistic just to get a little extra. Like, I have my truck. I just didn't want to drive it, So, I would say a few months, and then I just started driving just because I wanted to get extra exercise. I didn't need a bike. Why did I need a bike? To
save money?
I mean, yeah, a little bit, but it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth it because I ended up, going backwards. Like, I trained really hard, and I loved it, and I was consistent, and I was on it, and then I just did little less before I thought, this is stupid. Why don't I just drive?
To fit your lifestyle is what you're saying. Like, you had too high expectations.
Yeah,
you
and if
remain
it's
consistent.
super cold outside, you have to prepare and plan more, and I thought, this is dumb.
And then you're sweaty.
Biking
back. Ooh, that's the worst.
Yeah, and then when you bike back, you're not going to go fast, and you want to get home fast. Like, you're slow. Like, you're just going to be tired and stuff. But anyway.
Tried bike into a brewery and then trying to bike back. It's freaking terrible.
Oh my God.
We biked to Barkersville. Had a couple drinks, then tried to bike back, and it was just like, gosh, this is a terrible idea.
Just weaving down 144.
No, we did not take a main road. Are you kidding?
The last big point is some form of progression. It doesn't mean weight, numbers. It could be let's train one more day, or let's walk in between training days, or something like that. There are an infinite amount of progressions. If you are in swimming and track, you can only just get faster, or else. You can only get faster. Like, you have to put in that much work to get that much faster, and it just gets slower and slower and slower.
Be willing to change how you measure your progression, though, because you can only lose so much weight. You can only gain so much strength on certain lifts, or it slows weight down. You're still gaining, but
I find that's from a coaching perspective, it's really hard to let clients know we can progress in other ways. You just seem to associate with this one thing that, to me, honestly doesn't mean anything. It is one small segment of this entire game.
And I think that's part of our job as coaches is to help show the client, hey, look, you are really concerned with this one piece. And I want to show you, hey, there are these other things that are really, really awesome to progress in and that are part of your like overall well-being and overall health outside of just whatever, number is on the scale. Because there's way more to determining actual health than obviously the number on the scale. And so revealing to them and kind of educating and saying like, hey, look, like I understand you this for the last 10 years of your life, this one aspect is all you've been focused on. But we can do all these other things that helps create that full, complete picture of health.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard to get that out of your head. I still struggle with that. It's like, why do I always weigh the same amount? But it's got to be, and it's got to be harder for females, probably. There's so much pressure around that number, or the number on your clothes or whatever it is. It's like
society sucks.
It really does.
How hard is it to lie about your body weight or dress size? Like, who cares?
I was just talking to
who cares?
Right, but the thing is that like from a young age, like it's taught and ingrained that these things matter, and it's like,
I know.
and it's crazy to me because it's like, so Katie and I had this conversation the other day. Like we're talking about like pants or jeans or whatever. Like my jeans are literally sized off of what the sizes are. Like 34, 36, 34, 34, whatever it is I'm deciding to wear that day. Like the waistline is this big, the inseam is this long, and that's it. Like it's a straight up, doesn't matter. And they're pretty much the same across the board. And like women's clothing sizes don't make any sense to me at all because like I don't like.
And the brand, the brands.
The brands matter like completely. Like
yeah.
You can be because but then it's such associated with that singular number of like, oh well, I'm this, or oh I'm this number, or I'm that number, and it's like, oh man, it's got to be stressful. Like it just feels like it's stressful, even just thinking about like, I don't know, it's weird. Doesn't make sense to me.
Well, as far as the progression goes, you guys might disagree with me a little bit on this, but whenever you get closer and closer, it's pretty rare. But when you get closer and closer to mastery, you get closer and closer to injury. You're getting closer and closer to a tougher life because you have to be so perfect with everything else that's your singular goal, and everything else kind of gets cloudy.
It's fair.
So the better you actually get at one specific thing, I want to cuss, but the crappier everything else in life gets. But you don't know it. You can't see it. You know what I mean? Like if
you're a mile deep and an inch wide. Like you're incredibly focused on what. Yeah.
So I actually try to deter people from that a little bit. It's like, look, we can train really hard for this one specific thing if you really want it, and I'll try to make it as healthy as possible for you, so you don't destroy yourself. Because there are a lot of people do that and they destroy themselves, and then they're never heard of again.
Right.
Because they got injured and they couldn't figure it out and they associated their entire life with that one thing. And then who are you now? It's like, this was just a fitness thing. Like this was, you know what I mean?
That is a problem. People wrap their identity around.
Yeah. So the more generally fit you can be, I think the more like goals and progressions you can choose at all times. And it's more fun. It's like, you know what? I don't really feel like lifting super heavy. You know what? No big deal. Let's try this.
Yeah.
Because I'll crush you in that or whatever, and it'll be fun for a while, and then after a while, you did this so much, you don't want to do it you don't want to do it anymore. Let's try this. Let's try that. You've got options,
and that's why it's super important as a client for people to communicate their goals and what they're feeling and what they're thinking about their program and everything that's going on to the coach, and to be like, hey, look, like let's try this, or let's hey, like I'm thinking that maybe I want to try this. So we talked about this, and you and I've never tried just straight up putting on size. Yeah. Just putting on hypertrophy just for the sake of putting on 15 pounds or whatever. But it'd be kind of fun. It's never been my goal. My goal has always been strength and performance. And that's aesthetics has never come into the picture. And not that necessarily I'm going to be training hypertrophy for the aesthetics purpose, but they're okay, can I do that, and not sacrifice some of these other things? And that's a shift in program focus and what progression is going to look different if I'm moving towards something that's going to be like that. And it's okay for your focus to shift. It's okay for things to, because at the end of the day, for most people that are listening to this and most people that we interact with and coach with, having a wide, being a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well-rounded.
Well-rounded. Thank you. I'm really tired. Being well-rounded and being able to do well at a lot of different things is going to be way more valuable to most people's daily lives than being super good at power cleans or Olympic lifts only. And there's so much more to, health and in general strength and well-being.
The Olympics and high-level athletes are the perfect example of someone who should not follow what they're doing.
Most people you find on Instagram are a great example of what you should not.
I mean, think like weightlifting.
I'm gonna do it
in the Olympics is a great example, or some kind of track event is really good because you spend 4 years trying to get one just a fraction better. 4 years,
right,
of everything in your life dedicated to this one thing. And I think a lot of people think that's what fitness or trying to get healthier, exercising should be, and it is literally the furthest thing from the truth. Oh, well, they're gifted. I'm like, well, they probably did it for 20 years, actually. You think they're gifted, or they did it for 20 years. You haven't done it for a day. You know what I mean? Some people are gifted, but
it's kind of what we started out talking about, though. They get paralyzed by the extreme when just, small changes.
I really like the idea of just one day
eat
at
an
a
elephant
time.
one bite at a time.
Yeah.
100%. It's all you can do is sometimes not even look at, yes, it's great to have, it's great to have bigger goals. It's great to have a long-term plan. And it's okay to realize that, I may not see the direct path to where I want to be, but I know I'm moving in a direction that's towards where I want to go, and I'm just taking it one day at a time. It's not going to be a straight line. It's whether we're talking about in your career, in just daily life, in your health and fitness goals, none of those things, very rarely are they straight lines. To the path that I've taken from what I thought I was going to do in high school to where I am right now is not a straight line at all. But that's okay. And the same thing with anything you do, it's going to be ups and downs. It's going to have weird detours and stuff like that, but you're ultimately moving in the direction that you want to go in.
You have to, as far as the reason why I mentioned the mastery thing, the closer you get to mastery, the closer you get to potentially having negative consequences, is whatever that goal that is, it better be very important to you, because it's going to be taken away one day. And if all you do is associate with that one thing, it's probably not going to be a good time when it happens. But if you're a little bit more open to other things and you choose, it's not taken away from you, you choose to kind of get steered in a little bit different direction as far as any kind of progression goes, or exercise or whatever, nutrition is huge as far as that goes. I'm like, I ate pizza last week and now I'm fine. I didn't just throw, throw everything down.
Your fitness goals didn't go out the window because you ate
I'm
pizza.
I ate pizza one day. Might as well just ruin the whole weekend. No, why would I do that?
I was like, what is touching my leg?
Bad.
I think people do that really, really often. Yeah.
It's okay sometimes, but just let's get back on track. Let's get back on track.
And you don't have to wait till Monday.
Also, if you get back on track, it's so much easier to get back on track than it is to, I threw away the whole weekend, and then that's 7,000 extra calories, extra, not 7,000 calories, 7,000 extra. And it's oh
that's
my God,
2 pounds.
What's the scale doing? I'm I can tell you what it's doing.
Yeah.
What'd you do for 3 days? Is it a 2-day weekend or a 3-day weekend or a 4-day weekend?
Yeah.
Was it a cheat meal? Was it a cheat day? Was it a cheat week? Was it a cheat month?
I let myself live sometimes, and I get on the scale and I know exactly what to expect. It's the same thing, and it's just you know, you don't have to sulk about it. Just make a change right then and there.
Yeah.
Wait till the next month. And it happens again.
You can like have a Twinkie, just don't eat the whole box. I have one.
Goodness gracious. Those things are going to be around to the end of time.
I have one more thing that
Yeah.
I've told clients before, and it's clients that want to do an exercise that they're not ready for. I don't always verbalize this, but whenever I'm watching someone that's clearly not ready, it depends on how short I'm being on time, but I'll just say, show me. When you show me you're ready, I'll have you do it. You're not ready, that's why I'm not having you do it. I'm like, why am I not ready? I'm like, I'm about to hurt your feelings. You want to know? Well, you know, you asked me the question. Got to be honest. Well, you can't do A, B, and C, and you want to do D. So we have to work up to doing A. That's going to take a few weeks or a few months. Then we do B. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can skip a letter or whatever.
Right.
But a lot of people, they don't want to hear that stuff. Well, and I don't want to hear it either.
No,
but it's like, if you're honest with me, oh, okay, so I can't just go out and run 10 miles at one time in my life? Yep. If I did that this weekend, well, game over.
Well,
you know?
I think that's something we talked about with the episode when we talked to Charles was like the importance of, he already had barbell experience, but he got more out of everything by progressing from dumbbell stuff and doing goblet squats and carries and super simple things. He built a better base and fixed some of the issues that he had developed by lifting with a barbell incorrectly. He just did the thing, did the old school bodybuilding thing, and it is what it is. But he built a more solid base to then be able to handle and more efficiently use the tool that is a barbell. And that's sometimes, Aaron, you got to stop yawning.
Sorry.
I'm gonna fall asleep over here.
I don't know why. What's come over me?
Right. But that's the thing is that sometimes people don't understand, like, there is a progression. And I think sometimes it helps people to know, hey, I'm thinking of that progression. And if I know you want to do a certain exercise or you want to accomplish a certain goal, cool. Tell me that stuff. Hey, you want to do power cleans? Okay, I can give or take them. But you want to do them? Cool. We'll get you there. We can do it. And that's fine. That's just part of the game plan.
I have one more quick story, and this was hard for me whenever I had to shift my focus with training. Whenever I injured my shoulder a few years ago, I was going to physical therapy, so I had rehab. That was my only form of exercise. That's it. I did not lift weights. I only did rehab on one shoulder, not the other one. That one doesn't need any work. So I didn't do anything, and I didn't do anything else at all. And then I went to a massage therapist, and she told me you need to stretch every day before you work out, and you need to do at least 1 hour of yoga, like every day. And I thought, what? This is so unrealistic that there's no way I can do this. And she pretty much just said, like, figure it out. And I thought, okay, I'll figure it out. So this is what I did. I worked out every day, but I stretched for at least 15 to 30 minutes before I did my workout. My workout was rehab. That's it. And that's the first time in my life I ever did that. I've never stretched before a workout. I did in football, but let's just say that's old news. And anyway, so years ago, I used to stretch after a workout. That's fine. If you're bored or if you like to do it, sure, that's fine. I don't do that now. Anyway, I would stretch for 15 to 30 minutes, and then I would do my rehab work, and then that's it. And I did that until I got better. Versus now.
Right.
And versus before then. So I had to kind of force myself. But it took two experts to make me do that. Like, oh, well, this person's saying this. Okay, I'm going to do exactly what you said. This person's saying this. Okay, I do exactly what you're telling me to do. And then my own experience, and then I combined it. Once I took their advice, and then I combined it with what I know. And, I'm better now, but I still have to manage what I'm doing. I can't just do dumb stuff all the time, or else I'm paying for it. Like right now, I'm paying for it. The other day, I did flat bench. I haven't flat benched in years. I did it the other day, and I'm like, oh, I'm paying for it now.
Is that a wrap?
Yeah.
Aaron,
I can't
unless you
stop
got,
yawning. What is
Aaron
wrong
is
with
Aaron
me?
is on the struggle bus today. Aaron, did you get your
I
full
was
8
up.
hours of sleep?
Yeah, you're asking me.
I was up
I'm
planning
excited.
potatoes at 9:30 last night.
So the entire party cast crew is a little tired today.
Give a recap of the 4 things again.
So really, it's
What was that called?
successful health.
Thank you.
It's super subjective. It's made up. Whatever your health is not my health. Whatever you think is
Evan
important
made
is
it
not
up.
necessarily what I think is important. Blah, 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 blah. Just do a little bit better than what you're doing today, and you're probably going to avoid a lot of issues. Or you can just not try, not do anything, and you're going to go down a road that's definitely negative. Okay. And
What I would encourage you guys to do that are listening to this is talk to your coach about how to build a plan for your successful health.
The 4 main things that you need to focus on to do that, they're really simple. You need some form of preparation, some form of work ethic, some form of consistency, and some form of progression. And that's it.
Bam.
That's
Boom,
it.
let's do it.
Yeah.
Successful.
Just a
health.
little bit of all those things. That's 4 things.
Right.
It's 4 things. One at a time.
Yeah, I mean, you're
How many
correct.
things?
How many is it? 4? 4?
One at a
things?
time.
One at a time.
How do you
I
eat
want to
an
do 2 at a
elephant?
time.
All right.
All right. So
We gotta
that is
wrap
a
up 'cause I
wrap
have
on
to-
this week.
Banyo.
Look at that. We are right on time. So as always, guys, thank you for coming, surviving all this with us. Continue to reach out, send your questions to the email account. We're still getting emails. We appreciate the feedback. Leave a 5-star review on Apple. If you guys are enjoying the show, pass it on to your friends. Like, rate, subscribe. You guys know what to do. All right. I'm going to go to bed. You guys have a good rest of your day. We'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of PartyCast. Check us out on your favorite podcasting site. And remember, each episode is also available on YouTube. Thank you for joining us on this adventure, and we will see you next time.